All right, welcome this afternoon. My name is Kevin Strege. I'm the Local Issues Chair for the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber. It is our attempt this evening to give everyone a chance to hear from candidates and flesh out the issues and the positions and get a feel for who's out there and what their positions are, so that we have an informed group of voters. We are working within a limited time. We will have timers for the candidates, and Sally, okay, there's your times. Your time, you're yellow and you're red. We will try to keep with those, and there are bonus points with the audience for finishing early within your time. That's not going to happen. For the attendees, there are index cards in the back. You can submit notes. Kelvin, where should they? To Kelvin, and we'll get those through. If there are multiple repetitive questions, we may combine them and address them as one. You may address those questions to specific candidates. We prefer you do it to the group. We'll give everybody a chance to comment regardless on those. This is a forum, not a debate. We will go through and ask each candidate, give each candidate the chance to comment on the questions, and I may ask for clarification on those comments as it goes. We will start with different candidates, go in different orders, just to give people a chance to be the first one to address topics. And if we have a question that we go through that's consistent positions, we may just ask down the line if anyone has any different position they want to speak to. So we'll play that by ear. To begin with, I will go down the line. We have Mr. Jason Stark, candidate for Park Board, Ms. Julie Jeske, a current Park Board member, Mr. Mike Schwartz, the current Park Board president, and Mr. Harley Engelman, candidate for Park Board. So with that, we are going to go down the line, and I will start with Mr. Stark and say, take your time to introduce yourself and talk about what you think the key things on the table for the race are.
Thank you for allowing me to be. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. My name is Jason Stark. I'm born and raised in Bismarck. I currently work in the medical field. I sell plates and screws, basically, is how you could say it, for an orthopedic company, Johnson & Johnson Synthes. The reason why I'm running for Park Board is because I used to live out in the country, so I wasn't allowed to. I was a county resident, and I've been a part of the Parks and Rec facilities, and they kind of made me who I am today. It's been a huge part of my life. I've been involved with basically pretty much every facility there is in Bismarck, and pretty much, almost every single program. And I think I can add a lot of input on what goes on with the Parks and Rec. I have a lot of insight. I worked for the Parks and Rec for probably about 20 years of my life, all of it part-time, so I have a strong idea of what their needs are as far as facilities go. And I've also been on the user group side of it as far as the organizations that use the facilities. So I have a strong understanding of them, and I'm well connected within the town, the city of Bismarck, with all those user groups, so I can add their insight and mine to make some good decisions. Also, kind of a big issue nowadays is being fiscally responsible too. I mean, obviously our town is growing as a Parks and Rec, and we need more and more, but it's how much do we need before we have to balance the economical impact on it too, as far as, what's usable and what makes sense. So I think I can hopefully explain that tonight as we go along. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Jeske, and I am up for re-election with the Park Board. I moved to Bismarck in 2008. I am a lifelong resident of North Dakota. I spent most of my formative years in Jamestown and lived there for 17 years after I graduated from high school and finished up my college. I had the opportunity to live in Grand Forks for 7.5 years as well, and there I was elected a park commissioner there too. So I feel that I bring a diversity to the board because I have that experience from other park districts. Growing up in Jamestown, I did spend a majority of my time in the park district, and I do feel it made me who I am today. I grew up close to McElroy Park. I spent my summers playing softball, golf, tennis, swimming, and I spent my winters cross-country skiing and skating at the ice rink. I'm passionate about health and wellness. I work for St. Alexius Medical Center. I understand the important role that the Park District plays in our community, how it helps keep our residents healthy, happy, and safe. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve again, knowing that the Park District is such a vital component to our community and our economy. Last year, our economic impact was valued at $33 million. But I don't think you can put a dollar amount on the health and wellness component of the economic impact that the Park and Rec District makes in our community. Again, it keeps our residents happy, healthy, and safe. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve you for 4 more years. Currently, I'm the vice president of the board, and I do hold the operations portfolio. And I appreciate your time coming here tonight. Thank you. You've got your own mic, right?
I do.
We're not sharing. It's just Jason.
Thank you. Again, thank you for inviting me here this evening to this forum. Again, my name is Mike Schwartz, and I am your current Park Board President. And I would just like to say that over the past 4 years that Julie and I have served on the Park Board, I think that we've done some wonderful things. We've elected a new executive director, and I think did an excellent job in doing so. We've survived a flood. We've had a number of really good projects and done some wonderful things for the community. And I think that I can safely say that the community would be in agreement with what we've done. Over the past 4 years, I can probably count the number of phone calls that I've gotten on one hand, which I find very interesting. And I feel good about that people aren't concerned about what we're doing, and I think believe that we're doing a good job. I have lived in Bismarck since my folks moved here in 1968. We came from Dickinson and went to school here, met my wife here, raised my children here, and I am familiar with the community, and I am familiar with the Park District because over the years, both I and my children have used the many facets of the Bismarck Park District. And I'd also like to say that one thing that I feel sets me apart perhaps a little bit is that I don't come to the board with any allegiances, anything like that. I come to it in a volunteer capacity. I am not a member of any particular groups, so I don't have to worry about looking out or coming through on promises to anybody. I work for the citizens of this community, and I try and do a very good job on that. My priorities, of course, are fiscal responsibility, transparency. I'm a heavy believer in maintenance and debt reduction. And with that, I will turn the microphone over to Harley.
Mike knows me too well. He knows this is a bad thing to do. My name is Harley Engelman. People have asked me why I've chosen to run for the park board, and let's be realistic about it. With a name like Harley, was there any other office I could actually seek other than Park and Rec? I want to begin, first of all, by thanking the Chamber for the forum. I also want to offer my thanks, again, to Julie and Mike for their service. It's not easy to sit in elected positions. I think Julie and Mike have done an admirable job. And I also want to thank Jason for joining the race as well. I'm a firm believer that there should be no races that are uncontested. There are too many good and strong leaders in our community, and it's just giving people the opportunity to bring their perspective that is so critical. I have spent my entire life in Bismarck. I'm a true Bismarcker, born here, raised here, met my wife, who's a Bismarcker through and through as well. We raised our 4 children here, and we have all participated in Bismarck Park and Rec programs through the years. I am currently a senior consultant with CAT Communications. I specialize in marketing, management, and strategic planning. I worked with my father-in-law's company, Schumacher Jewelry Manufacturing, for many years and helped build that into a company that spanned 31 states and 5 Canadian provinces. I was a development director for a couple of years at St. Mary's, and prior to joining CAT, I spent 12 years at the state for the Department of the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation as their business relations director. And in that particular position, I broke and built, I should say, a national program connecting businesses to employees with disabilities. In all of those particular instances, I learned critical skill sets. And one of the biggest things I learned is that you have to listen. You have to truly listen to what people are telling you. You have to communicate effectively with them. It was something I also learned from the athletes that I coached for 10 years at Bismarck St. Mary's. It's a great opportunity to run for the park board. And to be really honest with you, what it comes down for me is, why am I running for this? And I'm going to paraphrase Robert Kennedy, if you don't mind. And I don't want to be that person that looks at something and says, why? I truly want to be the person who's going to dream of possibilities and ask why not. I think there's a lot of potential and possibilities. We have a great park district. I want to help make it even greater. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates. One thing that I failed to outline in the intro, there are 3 seats on the ballot for the park board this year, with these four candidates, 2 of which are incumbents running for them. So just wanted to clarify where we were at on that. First question that I would lay out, and as I said, I'm gonna start at different places so everybody has the chance to go first. But the question is, what is the most important item that is on or that should be on the park board agenda? And Mike, Mr. Schwartz, I will start with you.
Thank you, Kevin. Right now, I believe that probably the most important item that I see being on the park board agenda is, of course, the issue of an additional revenue stream for the park district. Right now, we sit at just roughly over $30 million in debt, and which it's not an opportunity, but it just detracts from our ability to grow into the future. There are many things that need to be done in our community as far as parks, and we've done the city commission has done a wonderful job of handing us a green space ordinance, but we need to look at regional parks, and we need to look at adding those to our portfolio. And really, we can't do that. We can't maintain many things when we're that far in debt. So I believe that one of the top items on our agenda should be looking at some additional money coming into the park district. Thank you.
Thank you. I would have to agree with Mike. From my perspective, the biggest issue to be dealt with right now is the $30 million debt. And the only way that it can be dealt with effectively is really to look at the revenue streams that are coming in to the district at this point. You know, Julie touched on it in her opening statement about the district having a $33 million impact on the community. You know, and statewide, that number is $802 million. It's a phenomenal impact that park districts have all over the state. Bismarck is facing really a challenge because with the significant growth of the community, being able to look at the regional parks or the community parks, the expansion to the north or to the northwest, it's going to be very difficult until we deal effectively with the revenue stream and the debt at this time. So for me, it certainly is looking at that debt and finding ways to bring it down.
For me, one of the biggest issues right now with the Parks and Rec is maintaining what we got. Because I've always believed that you have to take care of things that you already have, maintain them before you can want more. Granted, you know, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of organizations that want certain things, but if we don't take care of these things that we already have, we're going to have more and more debt down the road. So I think maintaining and working with what we have right now is one of the biggest factors. A couple of the areas I'm thinking of is Capital Racket needs some maintenance, accessibility issues up there. The World War Memorial Building's another one for accessibility. We don't have enough gym space as it is right now. Maintaining that, and also Schaumburg Ice Arena. With that, there needs to be a lot of help from the user groups to do this. You know, I don't know that it's supposed to be the taxpayers are supposed to come out there and help with this. The user groups need to step forward and work with the park board on raising funds, and whether it's through donations and grants, whatever it might be.
You know, I have to agree. I think looking for an alternative revenue stream and finding a way to find that delicate balance between what we can afford to do and what needs to be done. Being a public servant is kind of a humbling experience because there are many things I'd love to see for this community. You know, I look at Capital Racket and fitness and I realize that, you know, we need a better facility. We're the capital city. Can we afford to do it at this time? You walk into Hillside Pool and you go into the bathhouse and you go up to the second floor and you'd be amazed at how much that facility has fallen into disrepair. And then you go into the War Memorial Building, kind of a hallmark of our downtown. It's a beautiful building, but it's not being used for a purpose that it should be intended for, and it needs some vital renovations. I just want to address the issue of mill levy, though, because I know you kind of hear a gasp when you say 32 million, but when you understand that we're not far off from what the other districts within this state are faced with. Grand Forks' mill levy is at 38.54. West Fargo's at 32.45. We're at 37.5. Our mill levy is high and our debt is high, but we are pretty close to what the other districts within this state are running. But yeah, we need to look for a way that we can afford to give the residents of this community the services that they want from the Park District.
Why don't you hang on to that microphone? I'll stay with you to start the next round of. Do you support a combining of resources? This is a question from the audience. Do you support a combining of resources of Bismarck-Mandan, Morton, and Burleigh counties?
And in a combining of resources, I don't know if you're talking, and I apologize if I'm not answering this correctly. I don't know if you're talking fiscal dollars or if you're talking facilities. But I will address the issue of partnerships because I do think that is so important. When you are a taxing entity, I think it's so important that you work collaboratively with the other taxing entities so that you maximize the dollars for the residents in this community. So do I believe in partnering with Morton County, with Burleigh County, with the city, with the school district to make this a better community? Absolutely. I think collaboratively we are stronger together than we are the sum of our parts. So I do think we need to work together to improve what we offer our residents. So I apologize if I'm far off, but that's my answer.
I would echo a lot of the comments of Julie, and I would like to say that right now we do work collaboratively with Burleigh County. We've got McDowell Dam out there we take care of. We've got Sibley Park on the south side that we work with, and so there are things that we do in conjunction. And I know that the Park District personnel do visit with the Park District people on the Mandan side too. But as far as sharing facilities or things like that, regrettably we have a river that runs in between us and it makes it somewhat difficult to do.
I don't know that you're going to hear a lot different from me as well. In my opening statement, I talked about the importance of communication and listening, and I think that has to play across the river. It has to play across the city limits, across the county borders as well. We have to have strong communication, but I would advocate the same with the city commission, with the school boards as well. Strong communication there. But right now, with the current shape and status of the district, I think we need to concentrate really on the Bismarck district and building our programs and enhancing what we have right now.
I think as far as collaborating, first of all, I'll start with the Mandan side. I think that sharing information, sharing ideas is a great idea. I think a lot of times we had a forum before about how about another water slide? Well, I think if Mandan has one, we can collaborate with them. Do we really need another water slide or on this side? Things like that. But as far as financially sharing facilities with them, I think that's going to be a pretty tough situation there. As far as, I think that's been one of the downfalls as far as the collaboration between the city, the parks, and the county. I mean, I think that there could have been a lot more done. Recently, there has been efforts to strengthen that with the neighborhood parks program, with the city and the park board working together on defining areas where, the parks, where there's need for parks. Prime example is north side of town. There's a strong need up there, and now with the neighborhood parks program, it's going to allow the Parks and Rec to have input on where a lot of these parks go to effectively place them in the areas they should be.
Thank you. I'm going to take several questions and try and make one coherent one out of them because we have several that address the same question from a little bit different viewpoints. So bear with me. As our community continues to thrive and attract an overwhelming number of young professionals, how do we reach out to them about community issues and specifically related to the park board? And then from a slightly different viewpoint is what's the park board's role in making Bismarck a vibrant community and destination for the best people? And let's start with Mr. Engelman.
You know, the Young Professionals Association in Bismarck has been grown into such a vital and I think a key partner in a lot of the initiatives taking place in the city right now. I think it's very important to draw those young professionals into the discussion. I think one of the things that you're going to hear overwhelmingly from most young people looking at the city and wanting to see more is they're going to be talking about quality of life. And that really comes to with the diversity of the programs. I'm a huge advocate, and I have talked about this many times, but that recreation is not simply the physical aspect. Recreation is also the creative aspect. There's a lot of people who do not express themselves solely through physical activities. They express themselves either through the creative, the visual arts, or the performing arts. They use the creativity that they have to express who they are and what they want to be. So I'd like to see an enhancement of those programs to draw more individuals into the community. That in itself will enhance the quality of life in Bismarck, particularly in light of the growth, the diversity in our community now. Being able to express that diversity greater, I think is a positive thing. I think that's what young people are looking for. As far as service, I think that any one of us would advocate that we need to have more and more young people participating either on city boards, activity groups. Their focus and their focal points are critical to decisions and planning that will take place in the future.
As far as the parks and the Parks and Recs role that plays in this, I think the city of Bismarck and the Parks and Rec have done a good job as far as their role with the younger professional people. Just talking to Randy Bina about a lot of the programs that are out there. You take a look, and the adult leagues and the highest number of participants in North Dakota come as far as ratio for population and people participating in those events are, or leagues, whatever, user groups, however you want to word it. The largest portion comes from the Bismarck area here, so they play a huge role in our decision process upcoming here.
When people look to move to a community, they really look at three things. They look at the quality of the education system that's available to them. They look at the quality of the healthcare that's available to them, and they look for the quality of life that is available to them. And I really feel that the Park District plays such an integral part in providing that quality of life. Jason touched on it. We had more than 100,000 adults and children participate in our leagues last year, and I think that's phenomenal. You only have to go to one performance at Sleepy Hollow and not realize what a valuable part, what a culture builder that is for the youth in our community. And you go listen to the children sing with the choir, and you feel the same way. So I really feel that the Park District really plays such a huge role in not only retaining people here, but attracting people to come to our community. This is a vibrant, beautiful community, and I think the Park and Rec District helps enhance that beauty.
I'll address this one, and I'm a little bit prejudiced on this topic, but I think our Park District has done a wonderful job of addressing the needs of the community, and not only addressing them, but listening. If you spend any time going out to the Park District website, there's a huge amount of information out there. And I know personally, in visiting with Park District personnel, they are very sensitive to people coming in and asking for different things, different items, different programs, different facilities. Randy Bina and I talk about that all the time, where we should be taking things, where we should be going, and what we can actually do. So I firmly believe that the Park District is very sensitive to to demographics, to changes in growth, changes in the community, and trying to grow with the community.
I know we've had some of the attendees come in late. Just so you're familiar, there are note cards in the back, index cards. You may submit questions, hand them to Mr. Hullett, and he will filter them through. The next question, and we've touched on it, the group has touched on it in several ways. We've talked about the challenges of maintaining the widespread assets of the park district. We've talked about the challenges of the budgetary restrictions and debt, and the rapid growth of the community, and obviously the need to get out in front of that growth, because it's hard to put a park in after the fact. It needs to be there ahead of the game. I guess the question is, how do you balance those needs? And Mr. Stark, I'll start with you, but just talk about the balance between those three topics.
Say that again, please.
Rapid growth, maintenance of current facilities, and yeah, now I lost it, the budgetary constraints.
Okay. First of all, the balance as far as repeat that was one more time again here.
The community growth,
Okay.
budgetary constraints, and maintenance.
Okay. The rapid growth of the community, I think that that's a collaboration between the city and the city and the Parks and Rec. I think the best thing that could have happened on that is just, what happened with this neighborhood parks program. Basically, the neighborhood parks program, in order for somebody to have a development, the developer has to put up land for a park, and then they work with the Parks and Rec on the adequate space. So I think the biggest thing with that is collaborating with city officials, city and county, and that's where you're going to get that at. As far as economically and as far as the resources for growth, I think a lot of this is going to have to come from the user groups. I think the people who want these facilities are going to have to step forward. Prime example is right now they're starting their fundraising groups for hockey, and a lot of the money, a lot of the things are going to have to be raised from the user groups themselves and not put the burden on the taxpayer. So.
You know, every year as a park board, we sit down and we develop a strategic plan. And it really is kind of our roadmap that we use. Now, the key to strategic planning is not to put it on paper and then walk away from it. It's to reassess it every year and see what we need to move forward with and what needs to drop off that list. This year we hired a consultant that came in, and we did a lot of thoughtful consideration when we were looking at the strategic plan, because we understand what the issues are as a board. We understand that we have growing needs for our programs and services. We also understand that we have antiquated facilities that are in disarray and need repair. And the budget is always an issue. You know, you can't do anything with money. I work in healthcare, and there is a saying, no money, no mission. And I believe that comes true in the park district as well. You know, we need to find ways to enhance our revenue streams so that we can move forward with the projects that we've identified on our strategic plan.
I think this is a really interesting question. And first of all, because 4 years ago when I was initially elected to the board, maintenance was one of my biggest topics. I looked at how many facilities we had and the kind of condition that we were in, and a person had to ask why. I mean, we had been in a mode before that of growing and looking forward ahead, and our previous director had been a real forward-looking person. But the problem is when you do that, you tend to neglect things that are there, and I personally believe that you need to be a good steward of what you have before you can move forward. And I think the current board and the park district have done an excellent job of looking at facilities and doing things with them. You look at the municipal ballpark. You look at the hillside pool, what's being done there. You look at some of the trail renovations. I mean, it's the park district has done a lot, and we've struggled with the budget issue. And we're looking at that. We try and look for grants. We look for other types of funding, and we're trying to do a good job that way.
Thanks, Mike. I'll probably be the fourth one here now to echo the theme that maintenance is critical. And I think my 40 years, just about 40 years in business is really coming to mind here and talking about, we need to look at this and find efficiencies and effectiveness in the fiscal management and budgeting to ensure that the maintenance is there first to protect what we have. Julie touched on the strategic planning. I like to call it strategic visioning more than strategic planning, because it's not just looking at here, it's looking down the road. It's setting up very identifiable objectives, goals, and the action steps to get there and to measure it effectively, but to keep on coming back to it. And that, in a sense, serving as your Bible, if you will, for handling growth and maintenance issues. I think it is a fine line that you find the district doing right now in their budgeting. Director Bina and his staff have done a phenomenal job of working with what they have. The greater issue for us as we look at potential expansion, though, is enhancing the revenue stream and dealing with the debt. That just is the critical issue right now.
And that was an excellent bridge, Mr. Engelman, because visioning is the next question. And we've had a limited number of questions from the audience. I think we've covered a lot of topics. So I'm going to say, unless something comes up in this that we'll pursue, this is probably the last question. And the question is, what is your vision for the park board and the last thoughts you want to leave this group with? And Ms. Jeske, I will have you start.
I had touched on it before, the important role that the Park District plays in our community. My vision for this Park District is that we have, or it continues to be, a viable and important part of our community. And we want to make sure that, as a board, we're fiscally responsible. Mike had talked about stewardship, good stewardship of our financial resources, good stewardship of the earth in which we're on, to be honest with you. And, my vision is that at the end of the day, every resident in Bismarck can say, we have the best park district in the state. And we are one of the only certified park districts in North Dakota. So they've done a really good job with that. But my vision is to really meet the health and wellness needs of the residents who live here, because that's so important. And I just appreciate the opportunity to serve you 4 more years.
My vision for the park district for years to come is that we're going to have a park district that is responsive and has the ability to meet the needs of the citizens of this community. As we grow, and we will continue to grow, the park district needs to be able to do that. And without carrying the debt load that we do right now, I see that as an issue. And I see that in order to add the programs, to be able to grow the programs, be able to grow the facilities, and be able to look ahead as far as green spaces and parks and things like that, we've got some fiscal items that we need to take care of. But my hope is that we can do that and that we can plan and have the ability to respond.
When I got into this campaign and I decided that if I'm really going to look down long term on what I hope to do when I was on the board, I really kind of brought it down into 4 items. And for me, a strong park district has to be built around efficient fiscal management and budgeting. It has to be built around effective strategic visioning. But it also has to be built around ensuring accessibility to all facilities and programming inclusion for everyone. For all of you sitting in the audience right now, 51% of you are likely to have a disability in your lifetime. That should not preclude you from being able to effectively access the programs or the facilities. Senior citizens, young mothers with children in strollers should have ease of access into our facilities. So I want to make sure that happens. And the final thing that I really believe is that we need to have an enhancement of the arts in our community, really to reflect the cultural diversity of our community. I am an advocate for looking at the World War building. I did that the last time too. World War Memorial Building, and potentially looking at, can we retask that so that it becomes a far more viable partner to the downtown business core development. I think it's something worth looking at. I realize there's a shortage of gym space, but there's also the shortage of the opportunities for enhancement of the arts. And I think we need to pull more people into that. That's why I'm running. So I'm hoping that that does resonate with you and the voters of the city as well.
I think the most important vision for the Parks and Rec is pretty much two things. Accessibility for all people, no matter what age, disability, whatever it might be, but also making it affordable. But within that, though, we have to make sure that there's not an open checkbook, though, too. I mean, things have to be done. And the things that need to be done, it made me think about something else. I was driving by a guy's house today that I used to work with, who was kind of in the same field. And he told me, I said, can I put a sign up in your yard? He goes, yeah, you can put a sign as long as you're not one of those politicians that just gets elected and does exactly what the people who vote you in, exactly what they don't want. So I think also the Parks and Rec vision has to be accessibility, affordable, but also we have to be fiscally responsible. We have to partner with the city, we have to partner with the public sector and also the private sector. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that we want, but people have to raise some money too. The user groups have to help us out. So, thanks.
I want to thank the candidates for being here and for being very respectful of our timer. We'll look to the next candidates group to be as effective in staying within their time frame and moving along. So again, thank you for being here to speak to the issues and make your positions known. And I'd ask the audience to give them a hand.